The hum of the engines filled the cabin of Flight 472 as passengers settled into their seats. The morning sunlight streamed through the windows, glinting off the wings as the aircraft climbed above the clouds. In seat 12F, a man sat quietly, his posture straight but humble. His name was Jack Turner, a single dad, traveling home with nothing but a worn backpack and a small teddy bear poking out from it. He had the look of someone who had seen more than he let on, calm eyes that seemed to carry a storm's weight, hands that bore faint scars of years gone by, and a quietness that wasn't shyness but discipline. The flight attendants moved through the aisle, smiling and handing out drinks. A group of passengers wearing Air Force jackets were seated a few rows ahead, a team of F-22 Raptor pilots, their squadron patches gleaming under the cabin lights. They were on their way to a major airshow in Nevada, and their energy was light and carefree. "Man, can't wait to show those Navy guys what real flying looks like," joked one of them, a tall captain named Ethan Cole. "Yeah," another replied, "nothing beats the Raptors. You ever heard of a call sign named Titan 1? Supposedly some F-22 legend back in the day. Guy could take off blindfolded and still hit a perfect landing." The group chuckled, and one of them added, "Titan 1's just a myth, man. Probably one of those stories old pilots tell to make the rookies nervous." Jack in seat 12F smiled faintly but kept his head down. He sipped his coffee and looked out the window as the sky stretched endlessly, memories flickering at the edge of his mind, not all of them peaceful. When the captain came on the intercom to announce some turbulence ahead, everyone buckled in. The plane shook slightly, and a few nervous passengers looked around. Jack, however, seemed utterly unbothered. He reached into his pocket, feeling the smooth surface of a small, silver coin, an old Air Force Challenge coin engraved with a single word, Titan. "Sir, you good back here?" asked a flight attendant named Maria as she checked the row. Jack smiled kindly. "All good, ma'am. I've been through rougher rides." She nodded politely, not realizing what he meant by that. The turbulence eased, and soon the Air Force pilots ahead resumed their chatter. One of them, Captain Cole, stood to stretch and noticed Jack's coin as he shifted his backpack. "Hey, that's a nice coin you've got there," Cole said casually. "You in the service?" Jack looked up, his voice calm and friendly. "A while back, yes. Air Force." Jack nodded. Cole grinned. "No kidding. Same here. F-22 Squadron out of Langley." "You?" Jack paused. "Used to be. Langley, too." Cole's smile widened with surprise. "No way. What squadron?" Jack hesitated, eyes thoughtful. "The 199th. Back when we flew test ops for the Raptor program." Cole blinked. "That was ages ago. My dad used to talk about those guys." "Wait, what was your call sign?" Jack chuckled softly. "It's been a long time. Doesn't matter anymore." Cole leaned forward, suddenly curious. "Come on, don't leave me hanging. Everyone's got a story." Before Jack could answer, a sharp beep sounded through the cabin. The overhead speakers crackled. "Ladies and gentlemen, if there's a member of the military on board, please press your call button. We have an urgent situation." The passengers exchanged worried glances. The captain's voice came next. "This is the cockpit. We've just been informed that a military aircraft in our vicinity is experiencing an emergency. They may need us to relay communication. If anyone here has experience in military radio ops, please identify yourself." The F-22 pilots in the front looked at each other instantly. Cole reached for his bag. "That's us," he said, pressing the call button. Moments later, a flight attendant ushered them toward the front of the plane, where the cockpit crew was patching through the Air Force frequency. Static filled the speakers, and a voice came through. "Mayday, Mayday, this is Falcon 6. Hydraulic failure. Losing control at 22,000 feet. Cole took the headset. "This is Captain Cole, F-22 Squadron. Copy that, Falcon 6. What's your position?" But the voice was faint and cutting in and out. The commercial plane wasn't equipped for secure military transmission. The captain of Flight 472 frowned. "We're not getting through clearly. We might lose the signal." Jack had stood quietly at the back, listening. His jaw tightened. He stepped forward. "You'll never get a clear line through a civilian comms band. You need to adjust the frequency offset manually." Cole turned, surprised. "You know how to move," Jack said gently but firmly. He reached for the headset, and the moment he spoke into it, his tone transformed. Calm, commanding, precise. Falcon 6, this is Titan 1. Maintain your glide angle and divert to Vector 230. Do not descend below 20,000 feet. You copy. The cabin fell silent. The pilots froze. The air itself seemed to shift. Static crackled again, and then a shaky voice replied, Titan 1. Sir, is that really you? Jack's voice softened just a little. It's me, son. Stay with me now. You're going to level out and bring her home. The F-22 pilot stared, eyes wide. Cole mouthed the words, Titan 1, in disbelief. Jack, Titan 1, continued calmly, guiding the distressed pilot step by step. His instructions were technical, flawless, and filled with quiet authority. Every few seconds, his tone changed, part mentor, part father figure. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the distant voice of Falcon 6 came through again. Titan 1, we made it. Gears down. We're on the ground, sir. Safe landing. The cabin erupted in applause. Even the passengers who didn't fully understand what had happened cheered, sensing they had just witnessed something extraordinary. Jack exhaled deeply, his hand trembling slightly as he removed the headset. He turned to return to his seat, but Captain Cole stopped him. Sir, he said quietly, Titan 1. You're the Titan 1, the legend. My dad flew under your command. He said you saved his squadron in Kandahar. Jack shook his head humbly. Your dad did the saving. I just gave directions. But the young pilots weren't having it. One by one, they stood, saluting him right there in the narrow aisle of the commercial plane. The flight attendants watched in awe. Maria, her eyes wet, whispered to a colleague, that man was sitting in economy, with a teddy bear in his bag. Jack smiled faintly as he looked down at the bear. My daughters, he said quietly. She likes to think it brings luck. When the plane landed hours later, the entire cabin clapped again as Jack rose to leave. But as he reached the jet bridge, he froze. A row of uniformed personnel stood waiting. 4 Air Force officers, including a general, were there to greet him. The young captain from earlier whispered, That's General Lawson, the head of Air Combat Command. The general approached Jack with a firm handshake and a rare, genuine smile. Colonel Turner, he said, using a rank long retired, it's been a long time since anyone's heard that call sign. Sir, Jack said, nodding respectfully, I'm just a civilian now. The general shook his head. You may have left the uniform, but the uniform never left you. You saved one of ours today. Again, passengers gathered near the gate, watching as Jack tried to downplay the attention. But the general continued, Titan 1 was more than a call sign. It was a symbol of what leadership and kindness look like under pressure. You didn't just save a pilot, you reminded everyone what it means to serve. Jack looked humbled. All I did was what anyone would have done. Not anyone, the general replied softly. Only you. A young airman stepped forward holding a small case. Inside was a fresh Air Force Challenge coin, newly minted, engraved with 2 words, for valor. The general placed it in Jack's hand. Jack swallowed hard. Thank you, sir. But honestly, the only valor that matters is raising my little girl right. The general smiled. And from what I hear, you're doing a fine job at that too, Colonel. The officers saluted him once more before stepping aside to let him pass. The crowd, uncertain at first, began to clap quietly. Then louder, until the entire terminal was filled with applause. Jack simply nodded, a modest smile on his face, and walked toward the exit. Outside, the sunlight was warm. He reached into his bag and pulled out the teddy bear, smiling softly as he looked at it. His phone buzzed, a photo of his daughter at school, grinning with a missing front tooth. Daddy, did you fly today? Her message read. Jack chuckled. He typed back. Not today, sweetheart. But I helped someone else land. He slipped the phone back into his pocket and started down the sidewalk. Behind him, a line of F-22s soared overhead in perfect formation, the sound echoing through the sky. Captain Cole watched from the terminal window with awe. So the legend was real after all, he murmured. General Lawson, standing beside him, nodded. Legends are just men who never stopped doing the right thing. Titan 1 proved that, again. As the jets disappeared into the horizon, Jack Turner, The quiet man from seat 12F walked on with a peace that came not from glory, but from knowing that kindness, humility, and courage never needed medals to be remembered.